let's take you back to the dramatic scenes that we saw coming out of the Pretoria High Court, where we saw the defense advocate Malesela Teffo in the trial of the 5 men accused of the murder of former Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa being handcuffed and being arrested. And this is in relation to an earlier case in terms of an warrant of arrest from the 27th of January. My colleague Tshegohaco Moagi in court talking to Mr. Malesela, who was saying that this is harassment and his rights were not read to him. She joins us now just to recap what it is that we saw just a little bit earlier on. Before we go, we went to that briefing of the ANC. Tshegohaco, for the purpose of somebody who is just joining us, talk us through the latest developments as you saw and heard them.
Well, good afternoon, Dudu. Indeed, in some dramatic scenes that we saw here in Court GB at the High Court in Pretoria, where initially, before this arrest actually took place, we heard from the defense team, from the instructing attorney for advocate Malesela Teffo, that they are feeling intimidated, that they've had calls against them, and they're really getting death threats as well as a defense team. So that then unfolding, and immediately, as soon as they then requested that they cannot continue with this matter because the advocate was not himself, and the judge then adjourning the matter to the 30th of November, and immediately, as soon as that happened, we saw the police officers then come in. They surrounded advocate Malesela Teffo to just, tell him that they've got this warrant of arrest and that he needs to go with them down to the cells. And then we saw the conversation between the advocate and his instructing attorney, and the advocate then trying to call his lawyer so that they can be notified of what has currently taken place. That warrant of arrest, as you've mentioned, from the 27th of January, and the question then being from the instructing attorney as to why he has not been arrested all this time, why advocate Malesela Teffo has been let go all this time, and that they waited until now to actually arrest him. But they did not even answer to that. They've also did not read him his rights, as we've heard from the advocate himself. And he says he doesn't even understand why himself he's being arrested. But let's just take a closer listen to what he has said to us. Can we get an understanding from you? Why are you being arrested?
It's a part of harassment. As you heard that my attorney just told the court now, that these people want to arrest me. He's got the so-called warrant of January. Why is he coming to arrest me now? What did I do there?
Have they read your rights to you at all?
Not at all. You can see how they harass.
And the timing of this, Tshego, is rather curious, as you have just said, the judge making it clear from the beginning that, no delays or delaying tactics will be tolerated. You then wonder what this means for the case. It does not bode well, no?
Not at all, not at all. I mean, for it to first of all be postponed to the 30th of November, that in itself is a month to go. Until this trial sits again. But of course, then we do not know what happens next on the 30th of November, whether we will be able to see advocate Malesela Teffo here in court. He is, of course, representing the majority of the accused. Accused 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all being represented by advocate Malesela Teffo. And just a correction there, the 30th of May that this case has been postponed to. And it would be interesting then to see what takes place on that day, whether he will be in court or not. But of course, we've heard that, he's mentioned certain things within the trial today, and during his cross-examination, he's mentioned some people's names, including the person that was the community safety MEC at the time, Menkosi Malobane. He's also mentioned people like Shadrack Sibia, who he says were on the scene of the crime at the time, and there was a meeting that was held with one Brigadier Ndlovu, and he put all this to the sergeant who was on the stand, Sergeant Thabo Musia, and he put it to him that they had a meeting and that the crime scene was then tampered with, and that Sergeant Musia was given the things that he needed to actually take photos of. And the sergeant, of course, saying that he still believes that the crime scene was never tampered with. But then it begs to argue, because things like that, when people's names are being mentioned like that, and then he comes and he is then being arrested on the same day that he's mentioned people's names. You'd often wonder when this was actually going to take place. Just like he said that this warrant came from the 27th of January. It's been months since then, and yet we've only seen this arrest taking place today. And he's also wondered, including with his instructing attorney, as to why it takes place today, on the last day until the 30th of May, why they decided today to actually arrest him, and why is it also that that particular warrant of arrest, there is no charge on that warrant of arrest either. So interesting developments that have now come out from this trial right at the end as the court adjourned.
Very interesting details. We'll continue to keep an eye out on the way forward where this case is concerned. For now, we say thank you to Tshegohaco Moagi. No doubt you can look forward to more coming out from her later on in the next coming programs here on the channel.